As if being a teenager isn't difficult enough, we are now living in what many identify as a teen mental health epidemic. Adolescents are self-reporting at record levels: sadness, isolation, anxiety. So if you're a teen or you're a parent or you're somebody who loves a teen, it can feel really scary. In the last several years, particularly during the pandemic and then after, our teens have missed out on a couple really important developmental threads. One, building friendships, and the other, moving toward independence. And then you add to that this constant swirl of headlines around the dangers of social media. No wonder parents are terrified and our teens feel really overwhelmed. But I have some good news. And today, my goal is to maybe ease some of that fear, as well as offer some tools to support the teens that we love. I want to start by challenging a cultural idea that has quietly taken root: the belief that mental health is all about feeling good. Somewhere along the way, we've become afraid of being uncomfortable, and we started to see things like sadness, stress, frustration, even loneliness as signs that something is really wrong, or even worse, as signs of mental illness. And yet in psychology, we've always known that adolescence, as well as all of life, is filled with ups and downs, and that we're going to feel all of the emotions, from the most comfortable to the least, and that distress is not malfunction. It's just part of that landscape. Good mental health, we've never defined as an absence of emotional discomfort. Rather, it's having the right feelings in the right situation, and then the ability to manage those feelings well without hurting ourselves or someone else. That's it. So the feelings make sense for the situation, we have healthy coping strategies, and we're finding relief without doing harm. That's simply good mental health. Much like in physical health, we would never expect that people wouldn't get sick. It's the same in mental health. We don't expect people not to struggle and suffer. And this is really good news, because what this does is it allows us to then reframe how we see emotions, and we can now look at distress not as danger, but as information, as signals that can help us navigate the world within which we live. Now, none of us like to feel uncomfortable, and parents really don't like to watch their kids feel uncomfortable. Our instinct is to just jump in and rush in and try to fix and explain and maybe even rescue. We love our kids, we love our teenagers, and we just want them to feel better. Here's the hard truth. If a teen is consistently protected from discomfort and uncomfortable feelings and situations, we can unintentionally undermine really important emotional and mental growth. The research has always shown us that it's not within the easy times that we grow, it's actually in the hard times and in the very challenges that we become resilient and strong and develop those coping skills. And we all know that being a teen can feel like one really long challenge. Here's the good news. Parents don't need to just toss their teenagers into the deep end. All we need to do is come alongside them, walk with them, support them, encourage them, model healthy coping skills while not removing all the obstacles. So, why does distress feel so much harder for teenagers than for adults? Yes, of course, adults have more life experience and practice. There's actually a neurological reason. The teen brain is under construction. When puberty hits, it triggers a massive brain renovation. And the very first thing to get an upgrade is the lower region of the brain. It's called the amygdala, and that's the emotional center of the brain. And then over the course of all the years of adolescence, the very last thing to get the upgrade is the prefrontal cortex. And that's the perspective-keeping centers, that's impulse control, that's the ability to sort of have judgment and calm ourselves down. So in other words, our precious teenagers have these supercharged emotional engines and comparatively weaker, still under construction brakes. Psychologist and adolescent development expert Dr. Lisa D'Amour calls it the teen gawky brain. She says it's like the brain equivalent of tripping over your feet while you're in the middle of a growth spurt. So an emotion for an adult might feel like a 4 out of a 10, can genuinely, for a teenager, feel like a 9 or a 10. The intensity is real. The emotion is normal. It is not mental illness. Now, our teens do need a tool set. They need skills to be able to ride out these big emotional waves without getting pulled under. That's really important. Now, there are times when a teen's emotional distress is not due just to typical adolescent development. And so how do we know when to be concerned? I want to take a common emotion. Let's take anxiety. Now, anxiety has gotten a pretty bad reputation in our culture of late, but anxiety is actually a really helpful human emotion. Anxiety is the brain's alarm system. It tells us when things aren't right. And there are two main kinds of anxiety. There's healthy anxiety and unhealthy anxiety. And healthy anxiety is proportional. It kind of fits the situation and makes sense. It can occur internally or externally. So internally, it might be that kind of like uh-oh feeling when you know you're about to say something you're going to regret or you shouldn't. It might be that little bit of a nudge when you're scrolling on your phone and you need to get to that assignment, or even just nervousness before getting up and doing something new, like giving a TEDx talk. It also can show up externally, and we've all had this happen where you're in your apartment and you hear something in the back and you stop and you wonder, is there danger? Or it could be just kind of being on alert when someone looks suspicious, or being really mindful and aware when you're walking by yourself after dark. That's external anxiety. So healthy anxiety is actually our friend. It keeps us safe. It helps us behave. It moves us toward our values. It is not the enemy. It's for us, and it's just part of the human experience. On the other hand, unhealthy anxiety, it's when the alarm system is going off, but there's really no threat. There's no actual danger. Or it could be that you're having a response that's just way bigger than the situation calls for. So imagine with me a 15-year-old who gets a simple class presentation assignment. And the minute the assignment is announced, they start to feel really nervous. They get maybe kind of sweaty. Their heart might race. Their stomach drops. They might even feel waves of panic. Their body is actually acting like there's a lion in the room, and they need to escape massive danger. Now, we can all agree that a little bit of nervousness comes with public speaking for anybody, but panic, that's a disproportionate response. That's unhealthy anxiety. And so the most tempting thing to do in these situations is what? To run, right? To avoid, to try to get out of. So for this 15-year-old, it might be to try to get out of the assignment. Here's the problem. Avoidance feeds anxiety. Avoidance makes it worse. It's comfortable, but it actually makes the anxiety get bigger. So what it does is it teaches our brain, that's right, that thing was dangerous. Whew, so glad we escaped. We all know giving a class presentation is not really dangerous. So what actually helps is quite the opposite. Slowly, gently leaning into and facing the thing that we're afraid of. Don't have to do it all at once. You can do it step by step with support. But when teens do this, we actually see the anxiety go down. And here's the best part. The other thing that happens is the teenager learns, I can actually handle that. It might not have been fun or comfortable, but I can handle that, right? Confidence grows, and we grow in resilience. That's a good thing. So parents, when do we worry about anxiety and fear? Two main places. One is if the anxiety or the fear is actually getting in the way of the teenager doing the things that they need to do, everyday stuff like friendships and going to school and doing the things they need to do at school or being a part of other activities. That's when we worry. They can't do that. And secondly, if they're not able to bounce back, right? If they're not able to recover. And that's what really matters, is being able to recover. So that's when we worry. But here's the good news. Whether it's unhealthy anxiety or healthy anxiety, there are dozens of effective tools. We have breathing skills and grounding strategies and cognitive techniques and even slow, supported exposure to really feared situations. So that's all good news. And here's the thing. Being a teen is hard. It has always been hard. And our teens today face a unique blend of stressors and pressures, perhaps more so than ever before, that make their emotional lives feel even that much more intense. But we can rest in this. Our teens are going to feel all the emotions on the spectrum, and sometimes really intensely. It's normal. Those feelings are meaningful and they're part of the process. If the feelings fit the situation, the teen has support and can handle the emotions, then they're not failing. They're doing what they need to do. And as caregivers and parents, we're not failing either. They are doing exactly what developing humans do, and we can rest in that. In fact, this emotional journey, the uncomfortable, messy, nonlinear process, that's the very pathway upon which our teenagers become the resilient, caring, and capable young adults that they're meant to be. And that's really great news. Thank you.